How is box plus minus BPM calculated in basketball? Imagine trying to figure out how much a player truly impacts their team without just looking at points or rebounds. That's where box plus minus comes into play. It's a way to see how a player influences the game overall, not just through traditional stats. BPM estimates a player's contribution in points per 100 possessions, comparing them to an average player in the league. If a player has a BPM of +5, they make their team 5 points better every 100 possessions than an average player would. If it's negative, they're hurting the team's performance. The calculation starts with a player's box score stats, things like points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, and turnovers. These are turned into a single number that shows how much better or worse the team does with that player on the court. But it's not just raw numbers. The formula applies different weights to each stat based on the player's position. For example, guards might get more weight for assists, while centers get more for rebounds. It also considers how often a player uses the ball, their shooting efficiency, and other factors like assist percentage and three-point attempt rate. Once these stats are combined into what's called a raw BPM, the next step is to adjust for team context. This means making sure the sum of all players' BPMs matches the team's actual performance. To do this, the team's net rating, points scored minus points allowed per 100 possessions, is used. The raw BPMs are scaled so that the total impact aligns with how well the team actually played. This adjustment helps correct for players who might look good or bad just because of the team they're on or the opponents they face. BPM can be split into two parts: offensive impact and defensive impact. Offensive box plus minus looks at how well a player scores, assists, and creates offense. Defensive box plus minus estimates how good a player is at stopping opponents based on steals, blocks, defensive rebounds, and fouls. Since defensive stats are less complete, defensive box plus minus isn't as precise but still offers useful info. This metric is used by analysts, teams, and fans to compare players across different roles and teams. It helps reveal players who contribute more than their basic stats suggest. It's also a key piece in calculating other advanced stats like value over replacement player, which estimates how many wins a player adds compared to a typical substitute. But it's not perfect. Because BPM relies on box score data, it can miss some defensive qualities like positioning or communication. It can also be influenced by the strength of the opponents or how much a player plays. Bench players facing weaker teams might seem more impactful than they really are. Still, BPM remains a popular and helpful way to evaluate player impact in basketball.